In the quest for professional success, balancing work and personal life are paramount. Burnout, often stemming from an imbalance, can lead to emotional exhaustion and a sense of detachment from work. It's crucial to develop strategies for maintaining harmony in our lives. Key to preventing burnout is recognizing it. Symptoms include physical and emotional fatigue, reduced feelings of accomplishment, and a loss of personal identity. These indicators should not be overlooked, as they are often signs of deeper issues like stress or even depression. A foundational step towards balance is prioritizing self-care. This begins with ensuring adequate sleep, essential for rejuvenation of both body and mind. Additionally, physical well-being, encompassing exercise and nutrition, forms a critical part of this equation. Setting boundaries is also essential. It involves delineating clear lines between work and personal time, thus ensuring neither encroaches excessively on the other. Regular breaks throughout the workday can prevent the buildup of stress and maintain productivity. Building a support network, whether professional or personal, provides an outlet for discussing challenges and seeking advice. Knowing when to seek help is crucial. Sometimes professional assistance may be necessary to navigate through burnout. Finally, understanding and managing work demands are key. This includes realistic goal setting and seeking organizational support when needed. By adopting these strategies, we can achieve a healthier work-life balance, steer clear of burnout, and lead more fulfilling lives. Michelle, can you kick us off with your POP acronym and give us a little bit more context about the joy choice?
Sure, thank you. So an ecosystem, our life is an ecosystem of so many different elements. And the question is, how do we take care of ourselves in sustainable ways when there are so many pieces and parts and people? So, again, the joy choice is a behavioral strategy that is supported by science, where when we get to a decision point and we can't do what we plan to do, we're not motivated to do what we plan to do. Again, the book was really about eating and exercise decision making, but this idea really can apply to almost anything. When we get to a decision point, what do we do if we don't have the energy or drive, or simply can't do what we had intended? We need a strategy for that. And so the joy choice, instead of thinking in all or nothing ways, oh, I can't follow my diet to a T, I can't get to the gym like I planned, or I can't, whatever it is, we've been socialized because traditionally approaches to changing the way we eat and to exercising come out of a medical paradigm. We've been taught to think in very prescriptive ways about these behaviors. And what that does, if you think about it, a prescription is very much, whether it's a medication prescription or a traditional exercise prescription, it's do this, take this amount, and it's precise. And so we've been taught as a society to have this precision around our behavior. Well, that leads to all or nothing thinking, which we've already talked about how that gets in people's way. So that's the context for creating the perfect imperfect option that lets us do something instead of nothing, so we can stay the path. It doesn't mean we make the same choice every time. It means we just keep going and we maintain momentum and sustain it. POP is a playful decision tool that I created to help people in the moment make that perfect and perfect joy choice. And POP stands for pause. And anyone who does mindfulness or reads any Buddhist literature knows the wisdom of pause has been around for a long time. I just borrowed it for the acronym. We pause because that is what gives us a moment to regroup and harness our cognition, so that then we can do the second part of POP, which is O, open up our options and play. And by framing it the second step, in playful ways, we cultivate curiosity, which we know is a positive emotion, which other research suggests helps us broaden our thinking and creativity. So that will help us come up with alternatives when we can't do the all. And then the final P in POP is pick the joy choice. And what that would be for anyone, for any person, is going to be different from another person. And what it might be for me on any day or any moment would be different than it is another day where the circumstances are different, my energy level's different. So the goal of POP is to give people a playful acronym that hopefully they can learn and remember in the moment, and support their executive functioning too, so that they can recall it when they need to use it.
Manisha, you've been very open about mental health and dealing with depression. What is your advice for people, like strategies for managing stress to prevent burnout?
I have found, well, first, I just want to say that I've struggled with depression and anxiety in a very serious way my entire life. And at 45, I was actually finally diagnosed with bipolar 2, and I'm on appropriate antipsychotic meds. And it's shocking what it's like to live without the static in my head. And I always like to talk about this because people don't talk about this. And professionals are afraid to let people know. And I want people to know they're not alone, because I think that's a big component of getting burnt out as well, is just feeling like all you have in life is your work. And so what I would tell people is look at why you're working. Like when you're heading towards burnout, what is it that is motivating you? And I found 4 buckets: small T traumas, things that happened to us before age 25 that drive us to seek acceptance in the form of work. Cultural norms, that where we live in a society that tells us what we do is who we are and what we're worth as a human. Societal influences, where we see all kinds of stuff, and easy access to credit means people can live beyond their means, and we don't know if they do. And so we look at them and think, I should be able to have that, so we work more. And then there's evolutionary biological factors that go into this. Kind of the simplest way to think about it is we used to be able to provide all of our Maslow hierarchy of our needs with our bodies and brains, right? If you threw all of us into the woods, we would have been able to forage for food, create shelter, survive. Today, where do we get our core needs met? Well, we spend money to get basic food, housing, shelter. So the very act of working has a evolutionary biological imperative to it in some ways. And so as I was researching Money's End, that is what really jumped out at me, is that so much of our workaholic behavior can come in different combinations at different stages in our lives from those 4 buckets. And understanding that can really help you change your behavior, because I can't tell you how many times people said to me over the last 30 years, you're a workaholic. You need hobbies, you need friends, you need this, you need to lose weight, I heard it. It was correct. I knew it, but I couldn't change. And the reason I couldn't change, it's different for everyone, but the reason I couldn't change is I didn't understand the underlying factors that drove me to use work and push myself to burnout as a solution for dealing with other issues. And it wasn't until I did that I could then adopt all of the things that we know are good for mental health: sleep, exercise, community, time in nature, healthy eating habits.
So Mike, you said you're wired differently than most, because I think a lot of people on the hedge fund trading desk, it can be stressful, and they need to find like some outlet to relax and to refresh. Do you really not need to do that?
Look, running a hedge fund is successfully for most 20 years is my trader put it to me best. You're essentially in a foxhole every day and everyone's shooting at you. And about 90% of your brethren around you die, meaning they don't make it, and professionally. And so that is something very difficult to deal with mentally, even as a survivor over time. At the shop that I spent most of my time with, a shop called Millennium, the fatality rate, meaning the dismissal rate, is probably about 75% over a 5-year period. And in fact, it was so bad. There was this on my floor. There was this group to my left, and it's called a desk. And the desk is like 20 foot long. It's a 20 foot long desk, and all the people work on the same desk all together on a long desk. And every year it changed for about 5 years. And it was even more than that. I just lost track. And so I stopped. I determined that desk was cursed. And I wouldn't allocate my cerebral teraflops to remember who the person was. So it was I just called him Bob. And that was the right thing to do, because Bob came and went several times before. Actually, the whole time that I was there, it was just a revolving desk for about 10 years straight. And that's what, now you don't get into the business knowing that. We're naive. We think that, yeah, I'm doing this job, it's fine. But the failure rate, that burnout rate, comes with that failure rate. So it is a very high stress job, which was right for me because I really enjoyed that challenge. And it didn't really bother me when I was on the firing line all the time. But what it did do is open up my eyes, especially because I look at all the medical information there is in every trial that has failed and succeeded, and every drug that has failed and succeeded over 20 years. And that mental health is a serious clinical issue. And it wasn't something I was aware of until looking at the data. And we even have some of it, cases of it in my family. And it's something, people that don't have a mental health issue, depression and other things, it's a little bit foreign to them because they don't quite understand it. But we all have to be very empathetic, I believe, because these feelings that others have, especially with a major depressive disorder, it is very real. And there is great biology behind it. We were designed to be anxious and upset and fat because our biggest threat was to be eaten by other animals or starve to death. And we have 2 million years of evolution around that. So what are you going to do? Always be hungry, pack on weight, and be afraid. That's it. That's our biology. And honestly, those that don't suffer from some form of depressive disorder, they're the anomaly. I believe they're the anomaly. It's a very small percentage of humans, and the vast majority do have issues time to time. I'm sure that I even have, look, I don't know that I have it, but my wife tells me I do. So maybe it's true that even I would have these sort of issues from time to time. And it's very real. It's very material. I've had people on my team with this, and I have lost 2 good friends to self-medication. And this happens very often where they have a great ego or a great will not to be depressed or suffer from other issues, and they self-medicate with frequently illegal drugs. And I lost 2 very dear friends to that, and it usually occurs in your late 40s. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happened in recent years. This self-medication and the unwillingness to go to the doctor, and even one of them was a doctor. Very, very smart, brilliant people that still suffer from this. So it's not limited to just a few, or the poor, or the stressed out at work. There's millions and millions that are affected by this, and I have great empathy for them. And all that I can say, what I'll reiterate in talking about choosing joy, which is so very important, is to choose joy. Take the effort to find what you want to do and do it. And if it is carpentry, wonderful, do it, go big. If it's electronics, go do that. You don't have to go to college to be incredibly successful at something you love. And I think that that is something for 2 generations now has been drilled into our children's head through a machine, is that you must go to college in order to be successful. Otherwise, you're a failure. Total nonsense. I'll give you an example. My son, who is 16 years old, is potentially facing a situation where he may not go to college right away. There's other things that he's actively involved in, and I agree, and I support him. And it's not that he doesn't like school; he loves school. He just has another opportunity that's staring him in the face, and it's one of those things where you say yes and you go for it, or you say no, and that door is shut forever.
He's
So these
racing
are
cars.
choices that yes, he's a race car driver. So okay. Bad parent right here. Fine. No. Jill, it's your fault. All right. So, no, she's a wonderful mother. But that's what he's faced now, and I'm fretting with this. He's a very good student, but you only get to do certain things in life a handful of times, and we have to be cognizant that when you open new doors, you do sometimes shut others, and often you do. But I would encourage you, especially at a young age, to go chase it. And even at an older age, if you're unhappy, go chase it. Find out what you want to do. And that will prevent burnout. I believe that people largely burn out because they're stuck doing something they don't want to do.
Find your passion. All right, let's bring it home and go to the last segment.